imaging likeness, and obviously that's a whole new world, but what role does an athletic director in an athletic department play in that? Because it's supposed to be outside, but it's not. So explain what that's going to be like.
Yeah, you get clarifications on that, it seems like every 3 or 4 weeks. At this point, certainly we're not able to determine who gets money or convey a certain amount or anything like that, but we can promote it. And I think that's the right place for us to be. Really, name, image, and likeness is about opportunities for student athletes, and that's what we're here for, is to provide them opportunities to get degrees, opportunities to excel and grow personally and professionally as well as athletically. And name, image, and likeness is about opportunities. And so I think it's important that we embrace that we promote that. I don't think it has to come, at the expense of other things that we're trying to do. But in the environment we're in today, that's a very important component to a healthy athletic program.
Wren, I did a show actually with somebody who covered you in North Texas a few days ago, and he went through your whole kind of journey to this point, which for anybody who doesn't know is very unique. How do you feel your journey going from more of academia to then I heard you were coaching a basketball team to then segueing into bigger programs under others and then leading the way at North Texas, and even doing this and getting to this point even at a relatively young age puts you in a unique situation because your journey and resume is not exactly common to this position, even though obviously it's qualified.
Yeah, I feel like passion leads you to where you're supposed to be. I'm a person of faith, and so I think there was some divine intervention amongst my steps along the way, because it certainly was a little bit of a different path. I've just always cared about being in a profession where I had the opportunity to help people grow and develop, and I'm so and once I plugged in intercollegiate athletics, I really found that. Had an opportunity to coach early, had some success there, but didn't feel as comfortable and as confident in that role as I did in the AD's role. And so, it is a different path, but I can look back now at that journey and each of those steps and how each of them prepared me along the way. I mean, I went back home when I was 26 and was a principal in the public schools in my hometown of 800 and I was having to do evaluations of my 7th grade math teacher who I'd feared most of my life. But then when you get later on in life and you're having to sit and have conversations and evaluations with coaches about programs, those are experiences that really help form me. I mean, there was never a more intimidating time in my life than back when I was a 26-year-old principal. So I think each of those steps, when you look back, really helped prepare me to get here today.
Wren, what was your first conversation with Neil Brown like?
Great. It was better than the first time I shook hands with him, because Troy was beating North Texas in the New Orleans Bowl first time I met Coach Brown. No, he's been great. We've had several conversations. I look forward to getting here and working with Coach Brown and doing a thorough assessment of the program so we can determine, hey, what do we need? Where are our gaps? What hurdles can I eliminate? What resources do we need to go and procure? Because the football program is obviously important to the university and to the state, and Coach Brown knows that. He wants to give WVU and the state of West Virginia the kind of program that all fans will be proud of. So I'm excited to join him, lock arms with him, get in the trenches with him, and figure out what we need to do to eliminate hurdles for him and provide resources for him.
Can you take us through the first steps of how you were contacted about this, and then some of the initial research that you referenced on learning a little bit about West Virginia?
Yeah, in terms of the process, I think President Gee could probably speak a little more because it started even before my involvement. So I definitely would let him elaborate more on the process. But what I will tell you is I had numerous opportunities to talk officially and unofficially with people who had been here, who are here. Natasha Oakes is on the senior staff here, and she just come from my place, broke my heart. So now I broke hers back. I'm joining her again. And so I had a chance to talk to a lot of people as I onboarded here, and that's where I really figured out there's a lot of similarities in how I grew up and where I grew up and the people and the culture here. And it became a fit. And every time I had a chance to interact with representatives of this institution, whether it be the committee or whoever, I grew more and more interested.
Well, let me just try to elaborate, because I think that is the appropriate question. You know, we hired a firm called Turnkey. They really are the gold standard in terms of selecting athletic directors and coaches. And so we hired them, and we went through a process of really evaluating what we needed. And I've outlined some of those today. Obviously, you start with passion, you start with strong leadership, you start with someone who understands the new world. I'm not a digital native. He is, and others are, and they really have found this pathway and been very successful with it. So we wanted to identify someone in that quadrant. We then and Turnkey did a wonderful job. They really presented us with a lot of different options, and we interviewed Power 5 folks. We interviewed folks outside of athletics in general. You know, of course, we hired Brett Yormark as commissioner of the Big 12, and you know that was and Turnkey had found them. So so we were hunting broadly, but eventually we focused on about 7 or 8 candidates. Rob Alsop, Oliver, and I Zoomed with those. We had a lot of input from a number of folks, and I personally had a lot of input from many of the people that I've worked with over the years. We narrowed it down to 3. We met in Atlanta with our screening committee at that point, and I can tell you it was unanimous. And we had, I don't want to make him feel with a great big head, but we had great candidates, and it was just readily apparent that the fit and the person and the structure and the place where he should be is right here. So that's exactly how that process worked.
I do have a big head, by the way.
Wren, I also heard, and you don't have to name the school, I don't go into detail if you don't want, but that there were those in North Texas that kind of were figuring this was inevitable, that this was going to happen, you were going to get a Power 5 job, and that some thought this maybe would even happen for you last year. Were you at any time close to joining another program during that time? Are they correct in that assumption? And then any information about anything that makes this, you already went into it, but this the right fit? Because I also did hear maybe that there was a surprise from some in North Texas that West Virginia would be that school for you, nothing against obviously the Mountaineers, but just out of the others that they heard in rumors.
Yeah, I won't go into too many details about other schools and their searches, but definitely have had a lot of inquiries as we've had success at North Texas over the years. Heather and I are both from Oklahoma, so where we live is within 3 hours of most of our family. So that's a pretty strong hurdle to overcome. So the bar is high when you're looking at opportunities. And this was really the first one where there was a consensus amongst our family, like, hey, this seems like a really great place, a really great place to live, raise a family, a great institution. And the more we researched, the more this one interested us. So, there's no question that the bar was going to be high for us to leave what we had. The people there have been really good to us. But this institution is that special, and the more that we dove into it, the more we figured that out.
Wren, can you explain your first name, and do you have a sister named Robin?
So my grandfather's name is Woodard, okay, and my grandmother was Wanda, and my dad is Wyatt, W-Y-A-T-T. So my dad decided he wanted to carry on that W tradition. So I have a brother named Ray, W-R-A-Y, and then I ended up with Wren. Why he couldn't go with Will, I don't know. But that's the way that worked out. So you add my career in, it seems like I've been searching for W's all my life. But My wife, she killed that tradition when we had our two daughters. I tried to get her to maybe go with Renda, and that was a hard no. So
That's okay. I tried to get my daughter to be named Wilhelmina May after Willie May. My wife drew the line there.
yeah, there's some battles you can't win.
Brad, you talked about new parts of college athletics. Obviously, the transfer portal has changed the face lately. So your thoughts, again, what's an athletic director's role in winning the transfer portal?
I think it starts with making sure that the student athletes who are here are having a great experience. Retention in any form of talent acquisition, retention is critical. And so we want our student athletes who are in our program now to have a great experience, to feel like they are being prepared for more than just athletics and to get a degree, that we're preparing them for life, that we're preparing them to be valuable members of the community, all of those things that we really care about developing them as people. Then with the portal, I think we have to provide all the access to all the technology in the world to see who's going in. I mean, a few years ago, it was all manual. Now you can go in the morning if you pay for the service, and they tell you who's coming in, they tell you who's going out, and they'll some of the services will even tell you grades and some commentary from coaches, and so you got to know who's there, and then you got to make sure that your coaching staffs across the board are equipped with the people who can reach out to student athletes in the portal and help build the case in terms of just the frequency of communication and selling what we have to offer, selling the institution and the athletic program, that we're providing all of those things to make a case for WVU. But it's certainly a different world, and I spend more time on it than I thought I ever would, and this job has evolved a lot during my 20 years. I mean, somebody said earlier that I'm young. I don't feel young after all the evolutions that this job takes sometimes, but we're in one of those paradigm shifting evolutions now, and we have to be prepared to make those adjustments.
Right, your facility plan in North Texas have plans for a baseball stadium, right? You
It
play
does.
baseball there.
Yes, we do not.
So I guess why would be the question? Well, they will come, I guess, but
Yeah, it is in our long-term master plan back there to add baseball. I'm a huge college baseball fan. That's the only institution I've worked at that didn't have baseball. I've already had a chance to talk to Coach Mazey. But as I onboarded there, one of the issues was, North Texas is a very fertile recruiting ground, big university, 44,000 students. So a lot of pluses there, but the athletic tradition had not been very good. And really it's because we couldn't provide the resources that our programs needed. I really think there's a lot of complexities in what we do, but it comes down to three things. Do we have the right people? Are we giving them all the tools? And are they following the right processes? And so when I look at North Texas as I onboarded there, we did not have some of the right people, and we did not equip them with the tools. And so we made a decision that the programs and the student athletes and the coaches that we have deserve the right to have all three of those things and compete for championships before we were going to add any additional sports. So I do think they'll add baseball at some time. I put it on the facility master plan for a reason. Have lots of conversations with alums that want it, but really felt like we need to get to a place where other programs were competing at a high level before we brought another program on.
Speaking of bringing other programs on, there's been a cry for some women's softball here, and of course that also is a cry for a stadium then, and again also men's track. How would you address if someone asked you if it could be done?
Yeah, I haven't had a lot of time to dive into those kind of things yet. I mean, last night was my first time to ever be here. So I actually talked to Joe Castiglione, the AD at Oklahoma, earlier in the week. He said, "Now, you've been there?" I said, "Not yet. I'm going this week." He said, "You've already been the AD for 2 days and you haven't been there yet?" So I've got a lot to learn, a lot of listening to do. But my first priority will be to make sure that our programs who are here are resourced in a way that they can compete for championships and be relevant nationally. I love the addition of sports. I love college softball. I'm out there every game at North Texas. Really enjoy it, and I'm not even in the stands. I'm over there standing on the third baseline by the home team's dugout. So I'm in the mix. But you know, my obligation is to come here first and provide the kind of experience for these student athletes that they deserve.
Brent, Jared McDonald with HD Media. Jumping back to NIL, you talked about promoting it. It looked like it took you about a day before you started doing that here. What's your relationship with with the folks at Country Roads Trust, and how much does the Light the Tower Collective back in North Texas starting this summer kind of prepare you for this?
It definitely has prepared me. I've known Oliver for a long time. You know, we haven't spent a lot of time together, but he's somebody in the industry that you know, just certainly has a name and reputation, and that I've connected with over time. Had a chance to talk to the rest of the staff there at Country Roads Trust. I see them as an asset and a tool, and somebody we need to have a relationship with, not one that violates the rules, but one that is healthy and does everything it can to provide those opportunities for student athletes within the rules. In Texas, we actually have a state law, so I could not have done that video in Texas, but I suspect that state law will get repealed this session. So, but you know, I am supportive to the extent that I can be with the collective there at North Texas as well. It's probably just like here; it's a lot of the same donors and individuals, and so you know, what I think is important is that everybody recognizes and knows that the MAC is important. Other projects we're doing is important. Other areas of the university is important. But those NIL opportunities are important. It's something that we need all of Mountaineer Nation to embrace.
President Gee mentioned Brett Yormark and one of his tent poles for promoting the conference and making it younger, hipper, more attractive. Does that, you know, kind of level with what you're doing with your vision, and how can a university and someone in your spot do that and kind of mirror that, what he hopes to do at the conference level?
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Commissioner Yormark, and Mac Rhodes thinks he's come in and done a great job. And like I said, I worked for Mac. We're very close friends. So I want to sit down and visit with him. I'll probably have a chance to do that even in the next couple of weeks as I transition, since we're there in the same metropolitan area. But yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense, and definitely, you know, you always want to hold on and celebrate tradition. That's a huge part of who we are. But you know, the demographic that we're targeting to bring in as student athletes is a younger, hipper. So anything that we can do to appeal to that demographic is also very important.
I'm offended by saying young and hip. I want you to know that.
You're very hip.
Yeah, there we go.
Brent, how do you go about assessing a football coach for a year?
I think you get in and build a relationship and work every day in the trenches. I think having coached, there's not very many ADs left that's had any kind of coaching experience. I think that helps me. I think I understand how coaches think a little bit, understand how to communicate with them, understand when they need to feel support, that there's a time, place to have conversations. You know, I look forward to getting in and really working with Coach Brown and learning everything I can about the football program, and I'm confident we can together figure out where we need to go.
Brett, being a coach, you know the coaches probably want a lot of stuff. Being athletic director, you know they're right to this chance too. You talk about getting in and supporting and asking what they need and getting over hurdles, get over both sides of that. You just described the balance of wanting, and wanting to say yes, but you can't say yes to everything.
Yeah. When I first got started, I was an AD and coach, and people would say once I was just the AD and not coaching, what was the biggest difference? And the biggest difference is when you're a coach, there's some positive affirmation, good game, coach. Even if you lose, you'll get them next time, coach. When you're an AD, just about everybody knocks at that door, wants you to give them something or wants to complain about something. So that was a big adjustment when I first transitioned over into just doing this job. But, you know, I've gotten used to that. And you know, we don't have an unlimited supply, so there is a evaluation of requests and needs, and what does that look like. But I will say this: I've been doing that for 20 years now, and this will be the biggest budget I've had to work with. So I think I'm used to having to punch above our weight class and find ways to be resourceful, find ways to stretch every dollar, find ways to be efficient with resources and the resources that our donors provide us.
Wren, earlier you talked about conference realignment, and obviously at North Texas, you put them on the track to go to the American. As an athletic department, what are the factors that kind of make you start seriously considering, changing conferences?
Well, at UNT, it was really about the geography was better for us. The television contracts were much better for us. The institutional alignment was much better for us in terms of what do the institutions look like. I think all of those factors go in. I think it's important in conference realignment that you keep your head on a swivel. You never know when things may change. And I'm very fortunate to have a partner who's been through a few of those. I think there's probably nobody that's experienced more in conference realignment than President Gee. So, my focus is on coming in and building this program the best it can be, which will be good for the Big 12. And as we reconstitute the Big 12 with these new institutions, making sure we're highly competitive.
Wren, there's been a lot of conversation, and a lot of this stems even from publicized comments with past alums and their either criticism or their comments of relationships that exist or don't exist with the program now, Pat McAfee being one in particular with a major mouthpiece. What's the importance in your eyes on leveraging relationships with past alums, because this university has a lot of success in the past, a lot of them still doing big things now in media and beyond, and how do you plan on going about making sure the conversation and the relationship is moving in the right direction with past alums for the university in the future?
Yeah, we had a little of that when I onboarded at UNT as well, initially spent a lot of time just listening to those alums, listening to their experience. You got to find opportunities to celebrate the past, whether that's reunions or different ceremonies to honor people that have traditionally helped you get to where you were. And then you've got to continue to provide avenues for them to come back, make it easy for them to come back, show them love, show them appreciation, give them the opportunity to spend time with each other, because really it's those relationships that they miss the most. And so if we're doing a good job there, then I'm confident that they'll feel really valued and really appreciated and very celebrated when they come back to campus. So I've already started reaching out to some of our alums. I'll rely on the team here to give me a comprehensive list so that I can do that. But that'll be a real important part of these first 100 days on the job, is connecting with as many of our stakeholders as I can, and that includes our former letter winners.
President Gee, I assume that the decision to retain Coach Brown was a lot on your shoulders, just because Wren wasn't here very long. So walk through your decision, why you decided that it was best to retain him.
Thank you very much. Obviously, we have had a challenging football year, as we all know. One of the things that I started realizing is the fact that we really did put our football coach in a very challenging position, because we played two Power 5 teams right off the bat. The other thing is I don't know if you've seen it, but the recent process came out noting that we have that we had the toughest football schedule in the country, and the fact that we've gone 5-7 in a very competitive environment has been something that obviously I take a lot of pride in, because I think that given everything that we played rather well. Secondly of all, talked to a lot of people. One of the advantages of being a university president for 42 years, I have a lot of folks that I have worked with, coaches and others, I think it very, almost to a person, they said that, that they believed that our coach had great opportunities in front of him, and that we needed to try to provide the kind of support and structure that would allow him to be successful. And then one of the things that was very interesting to me was that as we interviewed these athletic directors, to a person, each one of them asked that question, and then when I would ask them the question back, they to a person said exactly what Wren said, that they would love to have a chance to work with our football program and create a very positive result. And all of that together was very important. But in the end, we did talk with Wren, but he had already indicated his willingness to continue to work and enthusiasm about working with the coach, and that was very important to me. So we're grateful to have Neil here. And one of the things that I want to say about Coach Brown, in addition to everything else, is that few people have connected more clearly with West Virginia and with West Virginian than has Neil Brown. And he came in and embraced us, and this is a moment in which we're going to embrace each other now.
One final question. Your success with fan engagement in North Texas, but also donors are pretty well documented. Two different groups that you really have to engage in. Are there similarities in stimulating these relationships, and are there differences that are important to you in December?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of just engaging the masses, I think that's where this barnstorming tour that I'll go on here initially across the state, meeting people and listening, is important, because every place is different. But you find ways to engage people. At UNT, we got a tradition of a lot of professional wrestlers came through there. And so, like, we've done some wrestling events along with football games, and that really brought out a lot of additional people and different people. And so you have to learn the place and learn the niches that you can use to turn around and engage people and get that broad engagement with constituents. In terms of fundraising, there's both the importance of growing a base and getting as many people in the door as you can, doing something, because typically people don't start with seven-figure gifts. They start with something much smaller and grow over time, although we definitely would let somebody's first gift be a seven-figure gift if they want to do that. And then with your larger donors, it really is getting to know them. I see it more as matchmaking, if it makes sense, than fundraising. I want to know what they're interested in, what they're inclined to support, and then let them know the opportunities to partner with us that fit their personality and their interest. And so that really philosophically is kind of how I approach those two.
Very good. Wren, President Gee.
Yeah, Tony, before you let us dismiss us from class, let me just note that we have the chairman of our board right here, Tom Jones. I think I saw another member of our board. I think Ben Statler is over here. Stan Heileman is in the audience. I want to acknowledge them and their support. And also, Diane Lewis is right here, who is a member of our screening committee, and Maria Kolar. Dr. Kolar is a member of the screening committee, but also the faculty athletic representative. If I have missed anyone, but I did want to acknowledge that these were key people in terms of attracting this wonderful fellow here with us.
Very good. So for